Aboriginals could not believe the country existed until they could see it and sing it, just as, in the dream time, the country had not existed until the ancestors sang it.
Do you mean the land must first exist as a concept in the mind? Then it must be sung? Only then it can be said to exist?
Yes.
Then why a song?
Well, a song was both map and a direction finder. Providing you knew the song, you could always find your way across the country. These paths are called songlines.
Do the songlines exist outside of Australia?
There are lines the world over, unique in each place, but similar in their mystery and virtual existence. They do have a physical manifestation. They describe a physical path through the land.
How so?
The songlines form a deeper spiritual connection between humans and all that surrounds them. In England, they call them ley lines, and these refer to ancient stone circles and graveyards. In China, they are like the dragon lines of feng shui from traditional Chinese geomancy. In Finland, the Lapps have what they call singing stones that are also arranged in lines. There's also the Nazca lines located in the central Peruvian desert. They form a kind of totemic map that can be seen especially well when viewed from high above, like from an airplane.
So invisible lines across the earth formed an ancient knowledge network?
Yes.
I wonder if the singer's song and songline could be similar to my virtual networked world. I recall that my teacher, Derek de Kirchhoff, said that the networked imagination penetrated the mind differently. It worked on the connections between minds, and not on the contents of the imagination of private minds.
Yes, that's just like the songlines. They exist as shared implicit and explicit knowledge that lives through each being or node in the network. They form an active link in a collective system of live singers singing.
In fact, Derek said that a certain order of synaptic connections were established both by how a medium like the internet was used and by what one was invited to do with these activities that affected our behavior and judgment. Connectivity became a way of life, and now we have developed network minds.
Yes, but a key difference is the physical movement. When a person in Australia would go on a journey, people would say they've gone walkabout. This is one's physical movement through the landscape, true nomadic behavior compared to your neo-nomadism. In Australia, the ancestors created themselves from clay, hundreds and thousands of them, one for each totemic species. Each totemic ancestor, while traveling through the country, was thought to have scattered a trail of words and musical notes along the line of his footprints. And these dreaming tracks lay over the land as ways of communication between the most far-flung tribes.
Geez, it's like geographical hypertext without electricity.
Walking a song line, singing it into existence, simultaneously connects your birth, your life, and your death, creating a spiritual wholeness. Songlines are horizontal maps of geographical space, and they're also vertical maps that live in the mind. They exist beyond the material world, but must be made manifest through human action. This is what you experienced as you walked across the landscape of this story. Except that I would argue you haven't actually walked.
Well, yes, and it can be dangerous to compare people without walking among them. Judging societies by the words of others can create a subaltern image or threaten to homogenize. Yet my own discoveries, knowledge, and experience are the only source from which I can draw.
Listen to me, girl. You are a neo-nomadic explorer. The songlines are about the movement, sound, and rhythm that aided the nomad in survival. Ultimately, they are the connection between walking through the landscape and spiritual being.
So please, keep sharing with me as much as you can, even though it's barely scratching the surface of all we could know.
I will, and let's start with movement. All life originated with the migration path, a universal nomadic phenomenon. Most nomads claim to own their migration path, but in practice, they only lay claim to seasonal grazing rights. Time and space are thus dissolved around each other. A month and a stretch of road are synonymous. Even the word nomad has as its root the verb to pasture. It seems to me that this is very similar to your way of understanding time and space as hyperspace. What do you think?
The interactions I have with my environment and the input of others shape what we become. The more I am connected, the more I am shaped.
Yes, it is in the interconnectedness that lies the meaning of who and what we are. In Australia, there was hardly a rock or creek in the country that could not or had not been sung. One should perhaps visualize the songlines as a spaghetti of Iliads and Odysseys, writhing this way and that, in which every episode was readable in terms of geography. Just think, when you blink your eyes and you are searching back through infinite amounts of information, you are using your transhuman capability of instant recall. When you are traveling on the imagined journey of my words, you are learning of ways of being that you may wish to bring to whatever present moment is next to come for you. The song lines originated in the virtual space of the mind and were stored in memory. Nomadic culture is based in oral tradition. Australian Aboriginals did for centuries what technology and enhanced biology attempt to achieve today. But for them, a musical phrase is a map reference. And music is a memory bank for finding one's way about the world, as you are coming to find out. In fact, people have thought that Aboriginals were capable of telepathy, but the reality is more astonishing. Regardless of the words, it seems the melodic contour of the song describes the nature of the land over which the song passes. An expert songman, by listening to their order of succession, would count how many times his hero crossed a river or scaled a ridge, and be able to calculate where and how far along a songline he was. He'd hear a few bars and say, "This is Middle Bore," or "That is Udnadada," where the ancestor did X or Y or Z. This is the intimate connection between the virtual and the physical realm. This is where the nomad embodies the land and is the virtual key to communicating it.
But what if the language of the song was different from tribe to tribe?
You know how your augmented mind automatically translates the meaning of the words, even if they're in a different language?
Yes.
Well, the mystery was how a man of tribe A, living up one end of a songline, could hear a few bars sung by tribe Q, and without knowing a word of Q's language, would know exactly what land was being sung. The secret was that once the melody is recognized, even though the meaning of the words may escape him, by listening attentively to the melodic structure, he could find his own words in sync with the melody and sing it over the nonsense words.
So the melody is the language of the landscape.
Yes, that's a perfectly good way of putting it, actually. And what is even more interesting is that the Greek word melos refers to the human arm. Imagine the first person who noticed the connection between the rhythm of their walk and the magic and mystery of musical melody.
Actually, I remember when I couldn't move my body. When I had the accident, and for many years after, the most comforting sound was the beating of my own heart. We must emerge from the womb with a shared human experience. living in rhythm with the metronome of our mother's pulse as we navigate through our first, most intimate landscape.
Oh, that reminds me of Bruce Chatwin's good old German friend, Strehlo. He wanted to show how every aspect of Aboriginal song had its counterpart in Hebrew, ancient Greek, Old Norse, or Old English, the literatures he'd acknowledged as his own. Once he grasped the connection between song and land, he wished to strike at the roots of song itself, to find in a song a key to unraveling the mystery of the human condition.
Did he do it?
Well, child, he made a valiant attempt at it. That is certain. No. I believe it is up to your generation to continue on where others have left off.
Do the songlines still exist?